Welcome to Geocache Adventures with me, Shadow Dragon 1, where I explore the world of geocaching. If you like the podcast, please consider leaving a 5-star review on Apple Podcast or the Geocache Adventures Facebook page. Or share it with somebody that you think would enjoy it. Word of mouth is a great way to spread the podcast. You can also join Geocache Adventures on Buy Me a Coffee. Just follow Geo Adventures, that's one word, GEO Adventures on Buy Me a Coffee, and get behind the scenes on every episode or become a member to unlock other exclusive content. Hi everybody, Amy, Shadow Dragon 1 here, and with me today are Michael and John, the president and vice presidents of the St. Louis Area Geocachers Association, also known as SLAGA, or is it SLAGA? I'm never quite sure on that one. I've heard it both ways. What's the official?
SLAGA, but
is it SLAGA? Okay.
Tomato, tomato. It doesn't make a difference to us.
Well, we'll go with SLAGA for them. So thank you both for joining me today, and we're here to talk more about SLAGA, or the St. Louis Area Geocachers Association. But first of all, can you guys tell us what your roles are within the association?
Okay. You want to go first, Michael?
I guess I'll go first. I'm Michael Smith. Caching name is Cootie Man. I have been elected to be president of the board starting, I guess it was, I'm halfway through my first year. It's a 2-year term. And I guess my responsibility is to lead the meetings and then organize the events and all the activities that SLAGA is doing for cachers and to make the relationship with cachers and muggles and organizations run smoothly.
And I'm John Lehman, Vorlon 40, and I'm one of the vice presidents. We actually have two, and my vice president's role is mainly geared toward training. So we do geocaching 101 classes around the area quite a bit. So I've been organizing and leading those as the years go on. So again, it's a two-year term.
Okay. So SLAGA is a geocaching association, but other than that, what exactly is SLAGA? What is it all about?
I guess our goal is two things. One is to promote the game, which we do, as John said, through classes, which this year we're doing 4 or 5, right, John?
Yeah.
And we're doing 2 through the St. Louis County Parks at Queenie Park. And then this year we've added a class down at Tower Grove. And I always forget, it's Brentwood or Maplewood?
I think Maplewood.
Maplewood. We've done Brentwood before, but this year we're doing Maplewood. So we are basically trying to expose people to what the game is through the classes. And then the other thing we're trying to do is create relationships with local parks and associations to make it easier to place caches and to realize what we are actually all about, as opposed to, not just putting garbage in parks.
Right.
We're actually creating a game which will get more people coming to the parks.
How is that fostering of relationships with the parks going?
John?
It's going fairly well. That was early on when SLAGA first got started. That was one of the things that they were primarily focused on, because the game was so new at that point that there were no landowner relationships. So they had to build them from scratch and basically start to get a hold of the different parks and that kind of thing to let them know what the game was, to educate them, and to work on getting permissions and policies in place in all of the different organizations. Missouri Department of Natural Resources, the county park systems. Let's see, what's the other one that covers the, but anyway, all the different organizations that have land that would be excellent for geocaching, and they may want people to come visit their areas, their parks, the areas, but they didn't know about geocaching. So we're continuing to try and foster that, and it's going fairly well. Right now we're working with St. Charles County Parks. We've been working with them for about 6 months, working on trying to get to a blanket policy for placement of geocaches in the St. Charles County Parks. St. Louis County Park System has a blanket placement policy where they've got a list of guidelines, and you don't have to actually get a permit in St. Louis County to place a cache in a St. Louis County park. As long as you're following the set of guidelines that they've set up, you still have to get your cache together and submit it to the volunteer reviewers, just like any other cache that you publish. But you don't have to actually obtain specific permission for your cache as long as it's in a St. Louis County park. And the reviewers work to ensure that the caches that are in the county parks are meeting the guidelines that the Parks Department has set up before they'll actually publish them in the parks.
And we've also gone to local municipalities. I know, I think a year ago we went to Fenton, who actually had geocaching on their council meeting. And again, they didn't understand it. So we went down and presented a little more knowledge about it and changed their policy a little bit, but they still were, they wanted us to, Fenton said we had to use biodegradable containers in our geocaches when possible.
And
you know when it's possible?
Never.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So we were okay with that.
Ideally, it'll be never.
Right. So we were okay with that because of the if possible. And but we tried to explain to them what the game was. And again, we were able to work with them to get a policy they were okay with and a policy we were okay with.
Yeah.
Oh, that's interesting.
Yes, it is.
I'm a little dumbfounded by the biodegradable containers.
We joke about it every once in a while. We joke about it whenever a new policy comes out.
Obviously, that's just from not understanding the game. But wow,
Right?
Yeah, we didn't want to tell them that there was a geocache like 300 feet outside their front door either.
Oh.
But yeah, that's a lot of it is just education, because people don't understand the game. So they don't understand what the guidelines that are already in place are for placing caches, as well as just the whole logistics of what people do to find a cache and what people do to hide and maintain a cache.
Right. When did SLAGA get started?
Yeah, SLAGA started back in September of 2001, which is just after geocaching got started. Was the first group. There was a group of geocachers in the area, and they decided we need to get together for a picnic and figure out who all the other geocachers are in the area. So they got together for a picnic in Rockwood Reservation, and they actually at that picnic went ahead and created a SLAGA geocaching account on geocaching.com and actually hid the first geocache from SLAGA as part of that event.
Oh, wow.
And then it's kind of grown from there.
And the interesting thing about that first cache, it is basically placed by somebody who is actually still an active cacher. Actually, it's an active reviewer. So the person who placed that first cache is currently a reviewer who just celebrated his 20th anniversary as a reviewer. And I think he is the only one that has 20 years of reviewer experience.
Could be that's currently active.
Wow.
But yeah, so those people got together, and then, like I said earlier, they quickly realized that land ownership or land manager interaction was going to be key, because they had some issues with some of the caches that were placed that they had to educate the parks and that kind of thing to get policies in place. So they worked on that quite a bit. And SLAGA finally did get a 501c7 status in 2007. They wrote bylaws in 2004 and submitted that to get that status, and did get that in 2007.
And we've been growing ever since.
And it's definitely changed over years from, just a get together of who's out there to an association educating and fostering relationships within the community.
Right.
So everybody who is joins Geocache or is a geocacher and has a geocacher account is a member of SLAGA. It's a free membership. Everybody belongs, but you can be a paying member as well.
What's the difference between the memberships?
So the paying member, and it's a fairly nominal fee. I think I'm going from memory. It's $15 for a single individual or $20 for a family who live at the same address. So basically, the people who are premium members of SLAGA help with the education. So whenever we give a class, they help pay for the training and the volunteers that come do that. But they also get discounted pricing on picnic, like the meals at the picnics, and any kind of item we sell, they would get a discount on that. And then finally, they get prizes or milestone awards for 50, 100, 1,000, 5,000, 10,000, and 25,000 fines.
Okay. So SLAGA, it says St. Louis area, but how far out does it actually extend in Missouri? And I know that's probably a little bit fuzzy on actually the area, but generally.
Well, and it's actually not just Missouri, because what they chose to do at the time was they decided to put 100-mile radius from a location within the St. Louis County area. So it actually reaches all the way out. SLAGA territory actually reaches all the way out almost to Columbia, or basically to Columbia, Missouri, and then includes a lot of southern Illinois as well.
That's a
So
far
that's all
stretch.
considered part of the SLAGA territory. We've even had events over in Columbia, and some of the early events were in Jeff City.
Oh, wow.
Especially when they were trying to get together with some of the different organizations. They got together with some Southeast Missouri cachers and some Kansas City area cachers back in the early days in Jeff City to talk to some of the officials in some of the land management organizations.
That's a pretty good stretch of reach for, especially early on, for a small organization.
Yeah, and when we do our picnics, which we do quarterly, we try to spread it out so like it's south, north, east, west, so that one region is not getting favored over another, because again, since we have such a large area, we try to make it convenient for somebody at least once a year.
Do you have to live within that 100-mile radius to join SLAGA?
No, we have several.
Certainly not.
Yeah, we have several people who were either lived here and then moved away, or who actually have visited us from other areas and have joined SLAGA. Like I said, it's free to anybody who's a geocacher. And again, even if they wanted to be a premium member, that's a question. I don't think we discriminate based upon
location,
zip code.
Right. Nope.
So what is SLAGA's role in the geocaching community? You've talked about it a little bit with fostering relationships and education. What else do they do?
One of the other things that I don't think we mentioned early on is that SLAGA tries to do is focus on providing ways for people to get together, just to meet other geocachers. That was their, in the very beginning, that was one of the earliest objectives, and we're still trying to foster that today. As Micheal said, SLAGA officially hosts 4 picnics or get-togethers a year. But we also host a couple of cash in, trash out events a year. We've adopted a portion of Olive Boulevard that we clean up twice a year as a CEDO. And there's other CEDOs in the area as well. But a lot of times we're just trying to foster getting other geocachers together, because a lot of the fun in geocaching is meeting other people that have the same interest or obsession, you might say, and and form different friendships, and people can start caching together and enjoy the game more that way, instead of just being a social or a lone activity that you do by yourself.
And each board has a different focus, and mine has been, in my opinion, broadening the game and getting more people into it. And I say the hook is events. So once you go to an event, you realize that, man, there are other people just like me who love this game and who are just a little bit different, a little bit quirky, but who are normal people. And it is surprising when we do the one-on-one classes, we ask them to join the SLAGA page on Facebook so that they see, all the activities. And then we invite them to an event. Say, hey, come to an event. You'll meet a lot of people. One that might live 3 doors down from you that you never knew was a geocacher. And then we also John alluded to it, we have the CEDOs. And one other thing SLAGA does through its members is we're trying to expand. I think, John, you did it. You reached out to, he lives in St. Charles, reached out to St. Charles the Stream and Clean. You had mentioned that. We've done it with St. Louis County through another cacher. So we don't not only do the CEDOs on our stretch of highway that we've adopted, but we also do it for other organizations and have done for years, including Bellefontaine Cemetery And I can't think of the dog cemetery.
Yeah, there's a pet cemetery in
in
North
North
County,
County.
that there's
Okay,
a CETO.
yeah.
Every year there's a CETO up there.
And he's been doing that for
A long
5, 6,
time.
7 years. I don't know. It's longer than I've been geocaching. Let's just put it that way.
Yeah, one of the other members we've got has recently become the Boy Scouts of America geocaching merit badge advisor for the St. Louis, or for their
Really?
council. So we've been working with her to tailor the geocaching 101 course a little bit to include enough information so that scouts that want to earn a geocaching merit badge can come to class and learn what they need to toward their merit badge. And then there's some other activities they have to do on their own afterwards. But
And we also have a park ranger who's a geocacher, and
couple of park rangers, St. Louis County.
And they've been again proactive in, well, that's how we got involved with giving the 101 class for St. Louis County Parks. But she also does classes on her own. But again, through all these relationships, we're trying to foster the game, increase the interest in the game, and create a relationship with the land managers.
Well, let's talk a little bit more about the 101 classes. You have the basic how to get started geocaching, but you've done some other 101 classes as well. Like there was a container creation not that long ago. What other types of classes and stuff are you guys doing?
Well, we did the 101 class. We did the 101 class, a cache creation class at the beginning of June. And actually we're having another one this Saturday.
Oh, are you?
Yes. And we did the first one kind of like the same thing with the picnics. The first one was north. This one will be further south toward off of Gravois Road.
Okay.
So again, it was well, the Magic Maker souvenir, kind of, we were going to do the first one, and as soon as we did the first one, 2 days later, the Magic Maker souvenir came out, which said, hey, if you put out a class about creating a cache, you get a souvenir. So of course we were going to do it anyway. So this expedited the opportunity to create a second class. So the first class was great because 2 reviewers were actually at the first class.
Oh, really?
And they gave us insight on what they're looking at, and kind of gave us an idea of, hey, if you want this to run smoothly, do this and this and this and this. If you like to beat your head against the wall, then do the opposite. So we're hoping the second class will be very similar, with only one reviewer there to kind of give their inputs on the do's and don'ts and the requirements of putting on a cache, because a lot of cachers are like, well, why can't I do this? Why can't I do that? They don't realize that there's not only the geocaching rules, but there's federal rules, state rules, municipal rules. I mean, and they're just like, well, why can't I put it on this? Why can't I put it on a guardrail on Highway 270?
Yeah, and there seems to be some rules that aren't maybe how's the best way to phrase it? They may be documented, but maybe not the easiest to find or the most obvious location to find the rules. Like when I published a cache, I did not realize it had to be so many feet away from a playground, and I was like 20 feet too close to the playground and had to find a new. I'm like, where is this listed at? Because I can't find it.
And that is one of the things that was brought up in the cache creation class and that's one of those municipal, federal, state, requirements. And the reviewers went over that saying, and he says, nobody ever does it, but go all the way to the bottom of the page. And I remember it was I can't remember what tab it was, but this is where it says all of that. And of course, nobody ever looks at that.
There's a lot of information to go through when you're trying to figure out the process and everything, and having some more direct, pointers and obvious things pointed out by reviewers in a class like that just makes it a little bit easier to digest it all. And
there's actually a wiki for each of the regions, and there's a Missouri wiki on cache placement guidelines for the state of Missouri that the reviewers all manage and keep up to date. That includes links to all the different policies for the different parks and that kind of thing. So
I wasn't aware of that.
And you can access it through all, like I said, all the way at the bottom of the cache page, the cache publication page. And I wish I had to remember which tab it was, but it was all the way at the bottom. It was one of them that you clicked on that took you to the wikis. Each one, or not all of them, but at least one of them, right, John?
Yeah, I believe so.
Wow.
Yeah, one of the other things that
Wow.
SLAGA has that I don't think we've mentioned is there's a website at slaga.org, slaga.org. You can go to that, obviously, without being a member. As a member, you get a few more access to a few more parts of the website. But in that website, we try and keep up to date some of the St. Louis area policies. So you can actually go on there and get a copy of the St. Charles County Parks Policy or the St. Louis County Parks Policy. There's links for those. And I was just thinking the other day, we should include a link to the Missouri Wiki and some of the publication guidelines to make it easier for cachers to find those things how to hide a cache.
And that's the challenge that a lot of cachers are having is they're getting frustrated with the reviewers because the reviewers are denying their publication. And it's not because the reviewers are not doing it out of spite. They're doing it because they're being directed by groundspeak or by a regulation that says no. I mean, the reviewers are fighting or are working with Missouri about a requirement that you can't put a cache on a highway, whether it be a lettered highway or a numbered highway or a rural highway or a urban highway. So if you can't put a cache on a lot of highways, that eliminates a lot of opportunities, and they've pushed back to try to make that more of an accessible option for cachers.
Interesting. So that would eliminate like all the rest stop area caches and stuff then if you had that.
I think it's mostly just on the highway, like a lot of the guardrails.
Oh, okay.
So, but yeah, the reviewers are helping us out, but they're also, following
the guidelines that they've been given. Because they at times get call from law enforcement saying, "Hey, you can't do this," and so they have to change the policies based on the fact that law enforcement in a certain area says no, that kind of thing.
Yeah, and we just had had a cacher who actually put several caches on an active railroad track.
Oh,
I know, exactly. That's what we said. And fortunately, one of our SLAGA members commented to me, or I don't know who he commented to, and about 3 days later, it got archived, didn't it? Yeah. So, so that is why, reviewers can only do what they can based upon what they know. And as soon as they found out, they kiboshed it or archived those.
Yeah, that's, on an active railway. That's a bit scary to think.
It is a bit scary. I think that's what finally did it was, I think they actually called and complained about somebody on the railroad tracks when a train went by.
Oh, wow.
So.
Wow.
Yep. And we have more scary stories like that if you want.
That might make a good Halloween episode.
There you go.
Wow. Well, you guys have talked some about SLAGA working with outside organizations, but how does that come about? Is SLAGA usually reaching out to organizations? Do organizations reach out to SLAGA sometimes? How does the magic happen?
It's kind of both. I mean, Tower Grove and Brentwood and Maplewood all reached out to us. And again, we're a volunteer board, and it seems like we meet once a month for a few hours, and then it seems like there's something always going on. So, it would be nice. And again, my goal is to grow the game. My philosophy is to grow the game with this board. But there's only so much time, and if we do all this to try to grow the game, we can't go geocaching ourselves.
Right.
So it is more, it's more them coming toward us, but we're hoping to be more proactive and be a little more like Jefferson County as a whole untapped area where we haven't really pursued a relationship with the parks and the land managers out there.
Okay.
Yeah, occasionally we'll get somebody. Just recently, there was a container that got turned into a lost and found at a local seminary. And the person realized what it was and ended up calling and asking, can you tell me what this is and what I should do with this? And was it you, Michael, that was working on
It was
that?
Robert.
Or Robert, our other vice president, looked it up, figured it was a geocache and where it was supposed to be placed. And evidently somebody had seen it and thought it was, didn't know what it was. So they turned it into lost and found.
Oh,
And we were,
wow.
and
So
we
we
were,
were able to tell them where it should be and notify the cache owner that it had gotten moved, and she was going to take it back out and put it back out because they had permission to put it there, but it just got turned into lost and found as just a part of daily life. But that's sometimes we get those kind of things as well, where somebody will reach out.
yeah. And we assume the cache owner got it back, but we know we gave the institution the name of the person so they could reach out to him. Or actually Robert, the other vice president, reached out to the cache owner and said, hey, so-and-so at the seminary called and they have your cache. And I think they picked it up and actually put it back out themselves.
Okay. Wow. There's just so many crazy little stories in geocaching like that eventually come out. And it was just always so interesting how, the world of geocachers and non-geocachers just kind of collide and intertwine sometimes. And
Yeah. And at our picnics, we have like a geo bingo where it's I don't know, 9x9, and it has things that have happened to you, gotten a speeding ticket. I totaled my car going after a first to find, I got stopped by the police or security, just silly things like that. I don't know what you've done, John. But I've done.
Do we have to talk about that?
Yeah. I know. and that's why those events are so much fun and why SLAGA organization is so good, because people do commiserate about their escapades, and there's a lot of people in SLAGA who county run or road trip. I mean, I know the board's now in front of me, so I keep looking at them for input. But I bet there's probably, I don't know, there's 1,000 plus or minus people part of SLAGA, who are active SLAGA members. Or no, I'm sorry, it's 1,000 people who like the Facebook page. I'm sorry.
okay.
Yeah, we've got a pretty active Facebook group for
Yeah.
SLAGA. People post a lot, and then the SLAGA officers post information to keep people informed as to things that are going on as well. So that's
One of the things that I know SLAGA does in the area as well for the geocachers, and I think it's such a neat thing, but they do the 12 days of Cachemas each year. Can you talk a little bit about that and how that got started?
I'll let you go with that one. I'm going to get a drink.
I don't remember the name of the person who started it. They've moved out of the area, but 87 Prelude, I think was his name, and he started that. And yes, so it's the 12 days leading up to Christmas. There's a cache published each day on those days, and in each of the caches there's a special geocaching container ornament that's made by one of the local cachers that's for years made a different series of ornaments for each year. So some years it might be a little train engine with a bison tube in the back of it, or it might be one year it was blocks with letters on them.
And one was a nutcracker.
So there's one for each cache for each of those days. So the first to find hunt for those caches gets pretty intense. People are racing to try and get their ornament for the year or their ornament ever. If I've only gotten one over the years, and I think I'm not going to worry about it anymore. And
I've gotten two, because there are some people who are diehard Cachemas first to find fans that, there's one family, a mom and her 2 children that, I don't know, they've gotten one last 3-4 years, and I think they got the bonus 3 out of the last 4 years. Yeah, they're pretty good. Thank you. They're pretty good at getting the bonus after the 12 days of Cachemas.
Yeah, so each of the 12 caches has a code in it, or a set of codes, and then if you find all 12 caches, then you can put those codes together for the bonus cache. And the bonus cache is anywhere from the day after Christmas to they've done it as late as the 31st of December. So if you found all 12, you can get all the codes and solve to get to the bonus cache. So there's always a bonus bonus cache as well as part of the series. So yeah, it's become, and they're hit all over the St. Louis area in Illinois, as well as in Missouri. So,
and different cache types as well, I've seen.
This past year was a lot of multis, wasn't there?
yeah, there's multis, there's usually puzzle caches of some type, unknowns of some type, as well as some traditionals.
And a night cache. Typically, I think there's
Typically,
been a night cache,
at least one night cache.
One a year, typically. They had one this year, and it was in Forest Park. They've had one a few years ago that was in Forest Park. And that's the funny thing, again, like you talk about stories, is I know a lot of people, it's crazy trying people going for the first time. I mean, they're seriously sitting at their computer or looking at their phone
or driving around in the area they think it's going to be published in.
Yes. And they wait. Yeah, I know people who stop at, be parking at the parking lot at 44 and 270 saying, okay, the last one was north, so this one's probably going to be south. And,
I've seen some of the Facebook posts, and it sounds like it can get pretty intense for sure. And I've seen countdowns posted, so many more hours until it comes out and stuff. Do you guys work with the local reviewers to kind of coordinate like certain times and stuff that they come out to know when they're all going to get published?
Yes, there's a person that organizes it, that keeps track of getting all the cache hosts, the COs for each of the caches, and they figure out where they're going to place all the different caches, and helps organize getting all the cache pages put together. And then those all get submitted to the reviewers early, so that they can, with a note saying, we want to publish this on this date. And usually they pick different times. Some of them are early before work. Some of them are during the day. Some of them are evening or night caches.
Okay.
So yes, it's coordinated with the reviewer to try and get that to run smoothly. But there's usually only the one or two people that know when each cache is going to publish, and the reviewer, of course.
Yeah. And what has been happening the last couple of years is one of the cacher, actually one of the board members, is he's live streaming the first to find. And it's usually it's on the Facebook SLAGA page, but that's kind of entertaining to watch, especially at night, because you can't see anything.
Oh, I bet.
Yeah, one of the events we've had in the past that's been kind of interesting was a grave hop.
A grave hop. How? Okay.
Yeah, it was centered around Halloween time, and basically it was going to different cemeteries in the area and getting certain information, and you do it as a team, and each of your team had to be at the same place at the same time, so you had to use pictures to verify your team was all together. But so going around to different cemeteries and getting information, and trying to score as many points so that your team could take home the prize at the grave hop. So,
and unfortunately, the person organizing that is no longer able to do it, but it was so popular that one of our neighboring associations picked it up and is now doing it in their locale.
Yeah.
Oh, that's neat. There were several neighboring associations, aren't there? Because I know there's a couple in Illinois.
Mm-hmm.
There's like a Southwest Missouri, I think.
Mm-hmm.
I know there's a Kansas City area one. So does SLAGA ever like cross host events with the other associations or work with them in different ways?
We haven't. That was another thought that I was having and the board was having, was to do what we're doing now. We have a Zoom meeting with other associations, because we saw something that the GGA was doing that we thought was an interesting concept that we might want to institute in St. Louis area. And we, there's always something. So we really haven't had a chance to meet with them, but we've always, because there's always, with picnics and teaching classes and et cetera, CETOs, we never seem to have time because, again, we are a volunteer organization.
Right. There's so much going on in the organization, and then you each have your own personal family lives that it gets chaotic trying to balance.
And you're right. But going back to what you were saying, is a lot of times at these events, there's probably an event this week. There's like an event every single day, but there's probably at least 2 or 3 events a month. And it is interesting. People will come from out of town. I think the last event in St. Charles Robert's here now. Somebody came from, where was she from? Because she said it was a new organization. She was asking us, they kind of like what we were in 2001. They have like 20 people and they communicate via text. And they're like, how do we make this group grow?
That's a big
like,
text
well,
chain.
They have a text change and that's awfully exclusive. I said, create a Facebook page and publish, hey, we're going to go to do this cache or we're going to have a get together or whatever. But I can't remember where she was from, but we said, hey, email SLAGA and we'll set up a Zoom meeting to talk about things we do to help you create and grow your geocaching group in your area.
That's really cool.
Yeah.
And then we also had another group from up in Milwaukee, right, Robert? Yeah, the three girls, Wisconsin. I'm sorry. Yeah, Wisconsin, where now they're harassing us on Facebook on a regular basis.
Yeah, their organization covers the entire state.
Yeah, their organization covers the entire state. But again, we talk about things they do and we do at these get-togethers. Not necessarily the picnics, but it's more the smaller gatherings that that we're able. Or actually, the ones from Wisconsin, they actually had 2 events here. And
Really?
every time they come through St. Louis, they have an event so that we can catch up with each other. And we saw 2 or 3 of them at Geo Woodstock.
That's pretty cool. So for somebody who might be newer to the area or newer to geocaching, and they might feel a little hesitant or uneasy coming to an event, what advice do you have for them?
Stay away from Cootie Man. And they're all agreeing in the background. Thank you all.
No, you should always try to feel comfortable coming to an event because there's all different types of cachers. They're not all like Micheal.
I'm here for entertainment. He's here for education. I'm here for entertainment.
But we've got a variety of geocachers from every walk of life and every phase of life. And there's always somebody that to talk to. And geocachers are a very friendly group of people.
Right. We're normal people, just like anybody else. We just have different hobbies and maybe a little nerdy. But in our Geocache 101 class, we tell them, we said, if you like to be alone, geocaching's for you. If you like to geocache with other people, or if you like to be with other people, geocaching's for you. If you like urban life, geocaching's for you. If you like rural life, geocaching's for you. If you like to take hikes, geocaching's for you. So if you're older and retired, geocaching's for you. If you're young, just starting a family, geocaching's for you. So we try to enforce to them that, hey, it is not just this type of person or that type of person. It is all kinds of people. And it's incredible. We talk about it. I talk about it with other people. There are some people who are in their 70s and 80s. And oh my gosh, they are in great shape. We're going up hills and I'm dying and they're up at the top of the hill finding the cache. And it's just impressive, the diversity and the ability of some of these people.
That's definitely, there's a type of geocaching for everybody out there for sure.
That is for sure, especially with the newer adventure labs and those kind of things, which make it a lot easier. You don't have to go hike in the woods. You don't even have to find a container.
Mm-hmm. That's true. Okay, so I have one final question for you both. Why should somebody consider joining a geocaching association?
Relationships.
Yeah, I think it's all about the people.
Yeah, because you'll find, like I said, it depends on what you want to do. I said a lot of people road trip. You'll find, somebody, you may want to geocache. You might want to go travel all over the world to find geocaches. If you join an organization, association, you'll probably find somebody else with the same interest who will do it with you. If you like to take, hikes to the highest point in every state, you'll find someone who's interested. We are normal people that just have common interests. So that would be the reason I joined an association, because we also do good and get contact with muggles that create a relationship and make them comfortable with us as an organization.
And it's also a lot about information too. You can get a lot of information through your local organizations about things that are going on, different events that are happening, or maybe different caches that are just really special that people are talking about a lot. So you can get a lot of good information through organizations as well. So that can be a real benefit.
That's awesome. Very good. Thank you both so much for joining me. Please tell the other board members thank you as well, because I know you all made the decision to come on here and represent SLAGA. So I appreciate all of them agreeing to it as well. And thank you for allowing part of your meeting time to make this happen. So
No problem.
thank you
My only
both, and thank
suggestion-
you all.
You're welcome. You can tell your favorite cache. Can we tell you our favorite cache? I
Oh
know what
yes,
mine is. You
please,
know what
please
yours is?
do.
I'm gonna put you on the spot because you didn't talk about this before. I'll tell you mine first. I went and saw the Great Wall of China.
Did you really?
Yep, in Wisconsin.
In Wisconsin?
Yes.
Okay, you're gonna have
There's-
to explain this one to me.
Yeah, there is a 8-foot long by 6-foot tall section of the Great Wall of China that was gifted to a businessman in the early 1900s who created 4-wheel drive.
Really?
And I told that to people. They're like, "You are so full of you know what." And I said, "No." And I took a picture and I said, "Google it." And so there is that's my favorite cache because I love bragging about it, that I saw the Great Wall of China. And then I paused, of course. So it's in a little park in a urban area, up in Wisconsin. So yeah, I'd have to remember what it was, but they gifted, when he gave them 4-wheel drive, Chinese government, he gave them, or worked with them to give them 4-wheel drive. They gave him a section of the Great Wall of China.
Wow. That is wild.
Yep.
Top
that, John.
I haven't seen
Yeah.
it. Yeah, there's so many different good caches around that it's hard to. I can remember my 1,000th cache was one that I ended up going to a castle up north in North Kansas City. I think it's called Northmore Castle, maybe. And it's a very cool cache. It's basically a tour of a castle in somebody's yard. And you have to climb up to the top, and there's a treasure chest up in the top of this tour to this castle. And it was really cool. And recently, a few of us just finished a cache series called The Architect, which has you going through a series of
Sewers.
storm. I don't want to call them sewers. What do they call them?
Storm
Culverts.
drain. Yeah.
Storm drains, storm culverts.
Okay,
They're
yeah.
not sewers.
Right, but the water drainage.
But you go through you end up in a bunch of storm
12 to 14.
conduits.
13.
Oh wow.
And it's and there's a big story behind it. It's all about hiding the chalice and finding the chalice and bringing it over to the United States and hiding it. And there's a big story behind it. It's not just the challenge of going through the storm culverts and solving the puzzles. There's a bunch of puzzles involved, and
Wow.
most of the cache is in Spanish, and it's a very interesting cache, and it was a lot of fun.
And it usually takes you, you do it. I did it in a group of 9, I think, and you did in a group of 7.
Yeah,
But yeah, it took 2.5 days to complete it.
Oh wow.
Over 2 to 4 weeks.
Right.
So.
And then just the last one I went to recently was on the way to Geo Woodstock. I went by the webcam in the library down in Evansville, Indiana.
Yes, I believe a lot of geocachers went by there.
Yeah, that was very popular on this trip down to Geo Woodstock. But that was such a cool library. All the wood
beautiful.
On the wood staircases, and just really ornate. And yeah, it's got 5 webcams, I think, inside the library itself. That was just a really cool experience. There's just so many different kinds of caches, as we've talked earlier. Anything you want to do, you can find a geocache to take you to a great looking spot, beautiful overlooks, great hikes.
So not only to join an association, but the geocaching has got me to places. Before I did geocaching, my wife and I did roadside attractions. And then after I did geocaching, I realized there were geocaches at every one of those roadside attractions. So I've kicked myself, but it gives you an opportunity. Geocaching itself gives you an opportunity to go places you would never go, like the Great Wall of China in Wisconsin, a cemetery in Oklahoma for circus people who were buried there. It's
wow.
Very entertaining. If you like that unusual history stuff, it's a great game to play, to learn that, to be exposed to it. So we appreciate you interviewing us.
I appreciate you talking with me, and I've made notes of these amazing sounding caches, and now I have to go look them up and put them on my geocaching bucket list.
Hmm. There's always plenty to do.
Yeah, there's always a goal to go.
More. There's always more.
We have so many stories to talk. We don't have time for that. We have so many stories just about Robert that, it's just,
Michael's photos.
yeah. So
Oh, I'm sorry.
Robert, you have a reputation, I guess.
Oh, do I?
I see stuff in the Facebook group about GeoKid and
Yep,
Mhm.
GeoKid, right.
Mhm.
Yep.
Yeah.
That's
Mhm.
Robert.
Yeah,
That's
he's one of our
So-
vice presidents, and usually I do a lot of the posting on the Facebook page. But yeah, we try to post, and that's why we ask people to look at the Facebook page just to be exposed to, hey, yeah, these guys they're a little goofy, but they are normal people, and they enjoy the game and enjoy each other.
Absolutely. Thank you guys so much, not just for being on the podcast, but you and all the other board members for what you do for SLAGA and the geocaching community. You guys,
you're
you guys are
welcome.
doing a lot.
We appreciate that. Thank you.
It's appreciated. So thank you guys for all your efforts. So,
You're welcome. Thank you.
and I know you have a board meeting to get to that I have been holding you up from. So
They've been eating in front of us, so we, it's not been very
oh
nice.
my goodness, it's torture.
Mhm.
Well, you have a
You've
good
been
night.
listening to
You
Geocache
too.
Adventures
Thank you
with
both
me,
again.
Shadow Dragon
Thank
1.
you.
Take
You're
care.
welcome.
If you'd like to
Thank
get in
you.
touch,
Bye.
you can reach out to me on Facebook, Instagram, or go to geocacheadventures.org and you can find the information on the contact page. Theme music is by The Travel Bugs. Thanks for listening, and I hope you enjoyed this episode. Have you heard of FTF Magazine? It's the magazine for geocachers. It is full of articles and pictures, all submitted by geocachers just like you. I'm a subscriber myself, and I love it. My favorite part is the little snippets on the edges of the articles on all the different pages. Those are my favorites. Just go to ftfgeo.com to check them out and tell them Shadow Dragon 1 sent you.